Shalom, y'all.
And when you're watching this, you're probably in the future because for us here it is Yom HaBikurim,
Yom HaBikurim, the 26th of Aviv.
the day first fruits with an S, plural. Very important distinction. Um, so welcome to YadiCast, episode one,
Welcome, folks.
by led by yours truly, Yoshi and Nehemiah, two humble, hopefully, disciples. Um, this is your first episode. I guess we'll kind of go over a little bit of just house cleaning,
Right.
just who we are, why we're doing this, our
Let's set the
affiliate.
table. Let's set the table.
Yeah, let's set the table, get the bread out, get the wine, a nice little turkey leg, whatever you like. Um, so my name's Nehemiah, right? I've been in this walk going on 5 years. Um, I attend the congregation led by Shaliach Moshe Konachowski in Jacksonville, Florida. Obviously, he's been a pastor, a rabbi. He's worn many hats and still continues to wear many hats to this
Yeah.
day. And I'm continuing to be discipled. I was saved and being discipled, baptized, and everything you can think of through this ministry, directly by Sholiak. A little bit about me, I guess. I'm 27. I'll be 28 soon,
Cool.
so still a young lad, um,
A youth.
a youthful young lad. And what Yoshi and I are kind of been talking about doing is just kind of having like a little, I guess, a form of a podcast, um, but just kind of making videos or just getting something out there where we're able to kind of test ourselves, um, and give us a good kind of goal and focus on our personal studies and what we do to kind of give us some kind of orientation and something to work towards.
And also to try and reach, um, our generation. I'm going to talk about myself after he finishes, but our generation needs the word. And much that is out there is not 100% accurate when it comes to exposing the word. A lot of people are being guided just from Matthew and forwards, but we know that the roots of the scriptures are way before that. So, part of our goal is to bring to light the true understanding of the scriptures, not because we have the truth, but the truth is alive and it has revealed himself to us. So, our goal is to bring you guys back to the full journey, not just the final part of it.
And it goes both ways, right? Like there's a particular group of people or perhaps believers of a certain degree that only focus on one half of the book, right?
Right.
You may know them as the Yahudim, the Jews, the Jewish quote unquote religion, and then you have another multiple sects of believers that believe in mainly the second half and just kind of look at the first half as maybe context or a historical
Historical
document
document.
or just that kind of vibe, that kind of energy. And as Nazarene, right, followers of the way, followers of Yahusha, really primarily,
Whom the world
we don't
calls Jesus.
whom the world called Jesus. So we might, here we use the true names, Yahusha, Yahuwah, and we might throw in there just for people who may not be familiar with that. We may kind of, from time to time, be a little interchanging with those words, just so you guys kind of understand what we're saying, because I know it can be new to a lot of people. But we look at the Bible, right, and as a whole, it's an entirety, and it's not meant to be divided and isolated and separated, kind of like Israel has been, but
Right.
it's meant to be united. And just like Yahusha says, he didn't come to do away with the Torah, but he came to reveal it in its intended fullness. And that's what we're yeah willing, um, trying to accomplish here is kind of find the connections between what is known as the Torah, the first five books of Moses, quote unquote, traditionally, and seeing the connections in the New Testament or the renewed covenant, as we call it, um, and building that gap, specifically for new believers or people who may be new to the faith or people maybe not even new, but I'm of the perspective that whether you're new, you're middle aged, or you're old, you can always learn something. And um, while we're maybe trying to teach or explain or something of that nature, we're also trying to learn in the process too. So we don't have all the answers, like Yoshi said. We don't have a monopoly on truth. Truth is a person, and that is Yahusha, whom the world knows more commonly as Jesus.
Right.
And he has the truth. And what you'll see as you read through the scriptures is restoration is a process. It's not something that only starts, from Matthew forward, or from Romans forward, or anything like that. But it began from the beginning, this process of restoring not just the people of Israel, but you as an individual. So restoration happens on many levels.
Yep.
Um,
And it is a
and
long walk because even to this very day, scrolls are being unearthed, things are being found, things are being discovered, things are being looked at through different lenses, different types of scopes. And as it is promised in the book of Acts, if I'm not mistaken, 321, the restoration of all things truly means the restoration of all things, the going back to the roots, the Hebrew roots of this whole thing, going back to the patriarchs, going back to the way we talk, the way we dress, the way we walk, what we eat, who do we interact with, how we conduct ourselves in our daily lives. How this is not just like a career that you go to church on Sunday or the synagogue on Sabbath and then you live your life normally as if this never happened before in the other days. We are here because we are trying to establish what we have been learning so far in the hopes that you guys receive it. We hope and pray that the Ruach, the set apart spirit, or the Holy Ghost, as some people think or call, we pray that the Ruach HaKadosh, the set apart spirit, would reveal not only itself to you, but all the truths, because it is written that the Ruach, the Spirit, would teach us all things through people. People forget that part, but it is in Ephesians 4 that um, Yahusha, Jesus, when he ascended, he left to some shlichim, apostles, to some neviim, prophets, to some teachers, to some pastors, and to some evangelists. So we have people, and we are going to learn things mostly through people. Of course, the Ruach still speaks. Yahuwah is alive, and he speaks to us. He dispenses revelation, but normally he dispenses revelation to those that he wants to send to reveal that. So it's like a chain of command. But this is what we expect and we aspire with this whole project, with this whole thing. We want to reach you guys. We want to talk to you. We want to know you're there. We want to get the full counsel of Yahuwah up to the understanding that we have and with the knowledge that was passed down to us. And presenting myself, my name is Yoshiahu ben Moshe Jazeredu. I'm not originally American. I'm from Brazil, so my English can be
really,
choppy at times.
I
Yeah,
would have never guessed.
my English can be choppy at times. Sometimes, my mind thinks way too fast, so sometimes I jumble words up. Also because I translate, so Portuguese and English are always in my head. But I'm 27. Also, he is a few months older than me, if I'm not mistaken. You're from July.
July.
Yeah, I'm from August. Yeah, so you are one month older than me.
I don't know it
Yeah,
was that close. I don't know why I thought there was a
yeah.
bigger gap.
No, only 1 month, bro.
Twins indeed.
Yeah, I'm 27. I'm from the south of Brazil. I am an English teacher, translator, treasurer, husband. I have a lot of positions, a lot of things. I also am one of the leaders of the congregation here in Brazil, the Yati branch here in Brazil, and I'm just a nice Jewish Brazilian boy, I guess. And here we are. Let's tackle this. Do you want to explain to them how is this going to work? The whole
Yeah,
partial thing,
and I just want to touch on this real quick before we get too far away. Just especially because it being the first episode, you know, and just to kind of address what some people may say. Well, who are these guys? Like, why are they here? What kind of like, who says these guys can say anything? Fair question to ask, because
right?
anybody who is receiving any kind of word, any kind of teaching, any kind of, and I'm not trying to say I'm a teacher, this, that, the other, but at the end of the day, it's important to be honest, right? Like, we're going to be here,
Right.
we're going to read the word, and we're going to relay what we believe to be our understanding, but we're not doing this blind. and we're not doing this just kind of as some like free spirit flowing through and just trying to go things about our own account. We are under a spiritual covering, and as I was mentioning earlier, that's through Yadi, um, and our what maybe people who aren't Israelites or necessarily have the Nazarene faith would call a pastor. We have a shaliach. His name is, like I said, Apostle Moshe Yosef Konachowski, and he is the leader over all of Yadi, and our pastor and our spiritual father, and we're under his covering. And he's given us the A-OK to do this. So he's overseeing all of this, and he has his hands, intertwined into this. So we do have spiritual oversight. We're not just like running in here and just trying to do this, that, or the other. We are following a divine order, and we do subscribe to the idea of a fivefold ministry, and um, that there is a spiritual headship here that we are covered by. So we're not just lone wolves out here trying to spread our own version of the message. There is order. And if we misstep or we say something incorrectly, we we will be corrected. Shalik
Yep,
has no problem giving us correction, and I think I can speak for Yoshi and definitely for myself that we have no problem being corrected. We have been corrected many times,
that's the
and
point, to learn.
exactly. And like I said, we've been corrected many times, and we will probably continue to be corrected. And everybody should be corrected
Right?
throughout this walk. No one knows it all, and that's how it works. So, kind of the premise or the intent with this is we're going to read through what are called parshas. So it's kind of like appointed readings, and usually what kind of happens is during a Shabbat service or a Sabbath service, or for those who are in the church or a church service, there's kind of like an order there where you would read the parshas, which throughout the year, once you read all the parshas, you have read the entire Torah. And I believe
Parsha means portion. I think it's
portion.
important to,
Mm-hmm.
to let that up.
Yeah, and so it's divided up throughout the year. So there's 52 weeks in a year, so 52 parshas, 52 portions, and at the end, in the completing of the year, you have read through the Torah, and I believe the at least the Gospels, right? I don't think it goes through the whole Brit Hadashah.
No, no, no. It's just it depends because the parashot in plural portions, they correspond to the objective of who is setting them up. The normal parashot we have, as far as I know, they have been developed by the Jewish leaders, the Jewish people, and the ones that we are going to use have the objective of finding Messiah in the quote unquote Old Testament. So you have parashot that go over to Second Chronicles, like the full quote unquote Old Testament or Tanakh, and we have other parashot that do like the Torah and the Brit Hadashah, the renewed covenant, the first five books, like Genesis through Deuteronomy, and until the end of the renewed covenant. So it depends. There is no wrong in this somewhat
Hmm.
because it depends on the objective that you're trying to acquire, you're trying to achieve. Ours here is to bring to light that Messiah did not just show up in Bethlehem. He basically was there. He was what created everything, and we need a way to prove that. So it's not enough to go to Colossians 1:19 and say that all things were created by him. But how can you say that if I don't see him in the Old Testament? This is our goal here. So the parashot that we are going to read, they go through the whole Torah, like from Genesis to Deuteronomy, and we are going to look at different books in the renewed covenant that kind of confirm what we are seeing in the Old Testament.
Yeah. So, um, in the order of it, we'll kind of read. Well, not kind of. We will read the parashot, right? The parsha is the portion, and then just kind of do our job of trying to connect Yahusha, whom many people know as Jesus, and finding him in the Torah, in the quote unquote Old Testament or the First Covenant that Yahuwah made with man, specifically uh, Abraham, Moses, so on and so forth, the prophets of that time. And that's our goal, and Yah willing, we'll do a good job at it, and we'll be able
Right,
to uh, hopefully shed some light and create that
right,
connection for people. And um, that's the plan, and that's the goal. And yeah, willing,
right.
that's what we'll do.
Get your scriptures, people. Let us do it. This is going to be a kind of a long episode. We are aiming at 2 hours. So sit back. I mean, not sit back, sit up. and lean on the scriptures. Let's read it together.
Yeah, and just for a quick plug-in, we are reading a very unique scriptures. They're called the RSTNEs, or the RSTNE, the Ristine, as some people call it, and they are what we believe to be a much better translation than maybe your typical Bible. You'll find that like Barnes and Noble or on Amazon, King James, the New King James, the NIV, this, that, and the other. They have the true names preserved, and they have corrections in them. Not to get too deep into that because that's not what this is about.
Right,
So you may see some maybe differences. So there's a reason for that. And you can find all that on rstne.com. You can get a copy if you'd like. And they're also free. So it's not even like you have to buy them. So if you want to
right,
follow along with your own Bible and kind of see the difference, you can do that. Or you can just go on rstne.com and
right,
you'll have them free right there. And you can read along with us with this much better translation, in our humble opinion.
right.
So kind of how we'll do it is, we'll go back and forth on each chapter. I'll read a chapter, Yoshi will read another chapter, and then we'll go back and forth and kind of give our thoughts and commentary as we go. Um,
Also, it's important to say that we are not going to have a set format, because as it is written in Romans 8:14, those that are led by the Spirit, they are the children of Yahuwah, the children of God, as you guys know him. But Yahuwah is his true name. So we're just going to try to be led by the Ruach, and let's see what happens. Let's see who do we reach. So the first portions, the first parasha we're going to read goes from Genesis 1 through Genesis 4. And we're going to be taking a peek at Matthew 1 through 6. So we're going to be reading 10 chapters, Genesis 1 through Genesis 4, and Matthew 1 through Matthew 6.
Perfect. So I'll start
Want
with
to?
chapter 1,
Okay, go ahead.
and we'll go from there. So Genesis 1, verse 1. In the beginning, Yahuwah created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the surface of the deep Mayim, the deep water. And the Spirit of Yahuwah moved upon the face of the Mayim. And Yahuwah said, "Let there be light," and light was. And Yahuwah saw the light, that it was good. And Yahuwah divided the light from the darkness.
Stop real quick. Uh, One thing, we're going to be talking a whole bunch of things here. And I wanted to start as my first commentary in this whole thing. In the Hebrew, I'm not going to say the original Hebrew, because the original Hebrew has been highly doctored with, but in the Hebrew we see the term Elohim. The term Elohim basically means mighty ones, but in the Aramaic Peshitta, we're not going to go deep into this, but just wanted to highlight this. In the Aramaic Peshitta, we see that every other god that you hear about, like Baal, like Hamosh, like Ramfandam, like Amun Ra from Egypt, all of them are addressed as Elohim. But this term also means the plurality of one. And here we debunk the Trinitarian doctrine, because according to the Catholics, we have three gods: God the Son, God the Father, and God the Spirit. But in Hebrew, we have two terms that refer to Yahuwah: Achad and Elohim. Elohim is several that make one, and Achad means a unity of one. You have the number one, that is Rishon, but Achad signifies or means that 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. Try to imagine an army. An army is full of people, but it is called nonetheless one army. It's the same thing. Try to think as an egg. You have uh, the skin, you have the egg white, and the yolk. Both of them are called one egg, but the three make one. So when we say Elohim, we are talking about the plurality of one. So we have the Father, his right hand is his Son, Messiah, who executes everything through the power that is the dynamo, the Spirit. This is why we see this Hebrew plural word talking about the one true God or the one true Aloha. So just to make that distinction, we are not subscribing or letting you know or teaching you or sharing with you. Um, um, uh, I forgot the term in English and in Portuguese. We are teaching monotheism. We are not teaching pluritheism because that is
Polytheism.
not polytheism. We're not teaching you polytheism because that's not it. What we are saying is the one true Yahuwah shows himself in three main manifestations: Yahuwah, Yahusha, whom the world calls Jesus, and the Ruach, which is the Spirit. But all of them make one true being.
And they're not equal.
They're not equal.
To be and just to kind of add to what Yoshi was saying, especially with the term echad, and a good way of thinking about it is in marriage, right? You marry your wife, a woman marries her husband. They are echad in the Hebrew, the word echad, which means they are one, but there is a plurality to that one. It's two parts, two components in that specific example that make up a whole. So there is a plurality there, as Yoshi was saying, and that's just another way to kind of look at it. Also, eggs don't have skin, bro. They have a shell,
Shell,
eggshell.
yeah,
There
shell.
you
My
go.
bad.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
Brazilian moment.
That'd be kind of weird if it did have skin.
My bad. Imagine
Um,
peeling an egg like with a peeler.
that'd be kind of weird. Verse 5. And Yahuwah Eloha called the light daytime, and the darkness he called Lila. And the evening and the boker were day one. And Yahuwah Eloha said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the mayim, of the water, and let it divide the water from the water. And Yahuwah Eloha made the firmament and divided the water that were under the firmament from the water that were above the firmament. And it was so. And Yahuwah Aloha called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the night, or the evening and the day, were day two.
So just a comment that it touches on how we see time nowadays. If we get, and we're going to read the whole thing, but if we get verse 5, verse 8, look at the sequence. And Aloha called the light daytime, and the darkness he called night or Lila. And the evening and the morning were Yom Echad, or first day. So in the evening, in the morning, and then we have the number. So in our current calendar, this is the Gregorian calendar that they did to counter the Julian calendar, the Roman emperors, the Roman emperors calendar. Then that had a they had like a leap day that was kind of messed up. Then they corrected it and called the Gregorian calendar because they were commissioned by Pope Gregory. But in the times of Yahuwah, we have the beginning of the day, the light part. So the day starts in the morning. Shouldn't this be obvious? Because the animals wake up in the morning, the birds start chirping in the morning, tweeting in the morning. But if you see your clock, the day starts at midnight. So let me ask you a question. How can the day start midnight or in the middle of the night? Seeing we see here Yahuwah separating the light from the darkness. So the light is day, the darkness is night, as clear as day. So the times that we use have been highly corrupted. And why is that important? Because Yahweh has his feast days that have become holidays. But the holidays are based on the Gregorian calendar, and the feast days of Yahuwah are based on his time. So once you understand that there is a difference in time as we see it, you get closer to the Father. And this is important because it is written in the book of John, if I'm not mistaken, 14:6, those who love me keep my commandments. And we are not just talking about the 10 in Exodus 20, which is in the Old Testament, by the way. We are talking about every single thing that is there because, as most of you also know, the Word became flesh. So if we obey the Word, we are obeying the one that came and became flesh. So we cannot just ignore everything to the left of Matthew. Just to let that know. Just to let you know, time has a lot to do with the faith that we have.
hmm And a very simple way of looking at it, just look at when does the day change? Well, the day changes the count of the day, so day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on and so forth, changes in the morning when the sun rises. And the evening and the morning pass, so when the morning came, the day changed, which is the
Right,
sunrise. So the day changes at sunrise, biblically speaking, right?
right,
And that's important because that lets you know when to keep Shabbat. When is the seventh day? Is it in the darkness of the sixth day leading into the morning of the seventh day? No, it is begins at the sunrise of the seventh day. That's very important when it comes to keeping Shabbat. So very important detail to understand.
right.
Verse
10. Let's do
10.
that again. Let's do that
Let's
again.
do 9 again. And Yahuwah Eloha said, "Let the water under the heavens be gathered together to one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And the water under the heavens gathered to their gatherings, and the dry land appeared. And Yahuwah Eloha called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the water he called seas. And Yahuwah saw that it was good. And Yahuwah Eloha said, "Let the earth bring out grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought out grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. And Yahuwah Eloha saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were day
Third,
3.
third day.
And Yahuwah Eloha said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs or witnesses, and for appointed times, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And Yahuwah Eloha made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. Therefore, namely, the stars.
So one thing, the moon is not a light, as you guys have been taught. Oh, but what NASA said. Even NASA says that the moon just reflects light. So they are basically affirming what Yahuwah is saying. The stars, the Kochavim, they are the ones who are supposed to rule the night. Because I don't know if you guys saw it, but sometimes here in Brazil the moon shows up at 4 p.m., at 3 p.m. So either the moon is drunk or the moon is not the light that commends the night. But the sun rules over the day and the stars rule over the night. Why is that important? If you guys ever saw, the symbol of a lot of religions is the moon. And also, our calendar has a lot to do with the Jewish lunar solar calendar. But the moon is not supposed to be seen to appoint days, to appoint months, to appoint appointed times. The moon is just there to reflect light and to, light the skies at night so the animals can hunt. And also the seas, the tides, the currents, and everything. But we're not talking about anything that rules the night other than the stars. That's also important because one of the crimes of the fallen angels that we are going to see in Genesis chapter 6 in the next episode is that they were called watchers. They kept watching the moon. So, and here, this is why we have like the Jewish calendar that starts their days in the evening, our Gregorian calendar that starts the day in the evening, the whole, a lot of religions that have the moon as their sign, when the moon has nothing to do with that. And this is how far perversion and twisting of the scriptures can get.
Amen. 17. And Yahuwah Eloha set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yahuwah Eloha saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were day 4. And Yahuwah Eloha said, "Let the water bring out abundantly the moving creatures that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." And Yahuwah Eloha created great whales and every living creature that moves, which the water brought out abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after its kind. And Yahuwah Eloha saw that it was good. And Yahuwah Eloha blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and refill the water in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth, and the evening and the morning were. Day 5. And Yahuwah Eloha said, Let the earth bring out the living creature after its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth after its kind. And it was so. And Yahuwah Eloha made the beasts of the earth after its kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps upon the earth after its kind. And Yahuwah Eloha saw that it was good. And Yahuwah Eloha said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Probably noting to the plurality that we were speaking of earlier, right? The
Right.
Father, the Son, and the set apart Spirit. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So the word, capital W, the word of
The
you,
word Hamilta, Hamimra, Halabar, Logos. All languages are going to say the word.
the definite article,
Yeah.
not just any
The.
word, but the word, right?
Yeah.
So the word of Yahuwah Aloha created man in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah Aloha, he created him. Male and female, he created
Okay.
them.
So let's make a point. Let's note in Genesis 1:27, male and female were created. Let's have that in the back of our head. Okay, continue.
28. And Yahuwah Aloha blessed them. And Yahuwah Aloha said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. And Yahuwah Aloha said, See, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps upon the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was
Polemic
so.
topic. I'm sorry. Polemic topic. Is weed legal or not, biblically speaking? We just saw here, and we're not endorsing anything. I mean, I used it like 4 times in my life, and I hated it because it spiked my heartbeat. I didn't like that part, and
You
also I
got that.
coughed like crazy. But
You got that Reggie. That's probably
man,
why.
I was like, I didn't
Any
like that part.
any former potheads or anything like that, they know what I'm talking about. If you got that Reggie.
But here it says clearly, verse 30, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps upon the earth in which there is life, I, who's talking, the creator of heaven and earth, I have given every green. Is weed purple? No, it's green. For food, not to smoke, for food. And does wheat plants have seeds in them? Yes, they do. So technically, if you want to eat weed, go for it. Biblically speaking, it ain't bad. And also that makes a lot of sense when you get somebody with Parkinson's and they eat the plant and it gives them some relief. Now,
Hmm.
this is not supposed to be a recreational drug for you to get addicted and forget about life. We're talking about something to eat. You're gonna put some wheat plants, wheat leaves on top of rice and beans. I don't know. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not. I have no idea. But it's supposed to eat, not to smoke it. So not an excuse. But yeah, you guys are right when you say that Yahuwah created all plants. That's on him. But it is also written that I'm convinced everything is good, not necessarily everything is right for us to consume. So let's exercise something that is very lacking, that is lacking a lot these days, called common sense.
Right.
Let's exercise that.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to marijuana, like listen, no one's here. We're not here to lie. Like we're very much reading the scriptures as being very clear. Um, and every person must be honest with themselves. There's a balance to everything. And are you doing it because for medicinal purposes? Are you doing it for pain relief? I mean, there's been a lot of things out there where it helps with people who have epilepsy to can't help fight seizures and stuff like that. Parkinson's, as you mentioned, so on and so forth. Reduce anxiety for some people. Some people it spikes anxiety. Maybe in Yoshi's case, what he was talking about.
Like I was watching. I used to teach English in this school called Wizard, and we were like before the classes period started. So it was like January. I had already done everything I had to. So I was there in my room, which was like dark and cold because I love air conditioning. and I was watching this series called Vikings, and it was like in the middle of a fight scene in the snow, and I had like smoked it for the first time that it did something for me, and I got so scared because everything looked so real. Like the scene was dark, my room was dark. The scene was in the snow. I was feeling chills because of the air conditioner, so it kind of traumatized me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Um, so yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you abusing just like anything? You know, Tylenol, pain relief, over the counter pain relief. Does
Yeah,
it do its job? You got a headache, you pop a couple pills, it goes away. Sure. Now, if you're popping a couple pill, I don't know who does like Tylenol recreationally, but there's some weirdos out there, and they might find a way. The point being that you have to be honest with yourself and say, am I abusing this? Or am I using it for its intended purpose? For stress relief, for pain relief, for medicinal purposes? Or am I just using this as a coping mechanism to escape life? Is it hindering my walk? Is it getting in the way? Especially when, if you look at 1 Corinthians 10, about halfway through chapter, maybe 20 something, it says, for all things in Torah are permitted, but not everything that is permitted is profitable.
right.
So is this consumption that you're doing? Perhaps it is permitted if you're eating it, having some brownies, having a cookie, sure. But is it profiting you? Is it giving you some kind of benefit, or is it hindering you? Is it hindering your walk? Is it keeping you from being the best disciple, the best person you can be in Yahuwah's eyes? And
And
you have to
added,
be honest with yourself.
and adding to what you said, it is also written, "Let your moderation be known to all men." So, as Nehemiah said, if you are going too much, if you're doing too much, if you're going too far, you need to look at yourself in the mirror because nobody else other than Yahuwah knows yourself better than yourself.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah, be honest with yourself, because weed is and I can speak of this from personal experience, as a chronic user for a lot of my early 20s and so on and so forth. You can find a lot of, if you have to sit there and you really have to fight hard to justify what you're doing, you're probably not doing something that is profitable. You're
if you're
probably
afraid of people seeing you, probably you ain't doing something right.
Uh-huh. And if you're ashamed about it, if you got to be honest. Look at your life. Is this substance hindering you from doing what you're supposed to be doing? Instead of on Shabbat, or instead of going to your service and putting Yahuwah first, is the first thing you're doing is ripping the blunt, ripping a bong in the morning, and taking care of those desires first. And it's probably getting in the way of your discipleship. It's probably getting in the way of you serving Yahuwah. So be honest with yourselves, and if you can't be honest with yourselves, go to your spiritual leader, go to your pastor, to your elder, to your rabbi, whatever you want to call them, and ask them and explain to them and be honest with them. This is the situation. This is what's going on. What do you think? And take their advice very seriously. Unless they're giving you terrible advice, like go do more or
Or
switch
like,
out.
who's your plug? That
Yeah,
also
yeah. Or here's your, yeah. Let me
yeah.
get some where you're getting. Yeah, no, that'd be crazy. So 30 again. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps upon the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. And Yahuwah Aloha saw everything that he had made, and see, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were day 6.
Okay, chapter 2, Genesis 2. So the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their hosts. I looked up this word. We are not talking about hosts in the sense of poles of foundation. We are talking about armies. So the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their armies. And on the sixth day, Aloha ended his work that he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had made. Also, another change you're going to see, because in the normal translations, the King James, the NIV, the Reina Valera, and João Ferreira de Almeida, for those who speak Portuguese, it says that Yahuwah or God rested on the sixth day after finishing his shift in the morning. So how can we trust in a God or in an Aloha that breaks his own commandment? Because in Exodus 20, it talks about keeping the seventh day. So if he worked in the seventh day, how are we supposed to not work? So if you go to the main texts, the original texts, it is written that on the sixth day, Aloha ended his work. So he ended everything on the sixth day. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work. And not that he rested, the word here is Shabbat. Shabbat means to cease. He doesn't need rest. He's not a human being. He's not tired. He didn't work graveyard shift and got tired and went to sleep. No. He ceased. Why? Did he need to cease? No. But he was presenting the example because we are supposed to cease from our evil works, from our evil works. Only on the seventh day? No. But every seventh day is a possible gateway for you to stop doing, for us to stop doing bad behavior, for us to start living right. And then we keep this up for the rest of our week. So Yahuwah sometimes doesn't do things because he necessarily needs them, but to paint the picture for us to know what to do. Because remember, the scriptures are not for the general public, they are loving instructions for the people of Yahuwah. And we're going to see who these are in the future, Yahuwah willing. But just to make the point, that Yahuwah didn't break his own commandments because he's not a crazy hospitalized God that said something and then his son had to come and say, "Oh, I'm sorry for my father. He's kind of schizophrenic. He's going through some things now." He didn't want to say this. No, this doesn't happen in the scriptures. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if he ceased on the seventh day, who are we not to?
Exactly. He set the pattern. That's what he's doing, and he's most importantly leading by example, right? That's what
Right?
Yahushua did, right? Jesus, as many you know, when he walked the earth, he led by example. He kept the Shabbat, he kept the Passover, he kept the commandments, and he remained in the Father's will. So he's setting a pattern, and continuing it to this day. So when the Shabbat is being kept here on earth, it's being kept in heaven as well. So and like Yoshi said, these are for us resets. These are moments. This is practice on what we're going to do in eternity. And this is to prepare us for that time. So each Shabbat that comes is another opportunity to reset, to readjust, and to improve on the work that, yeah, willing you've been doing previously, and to correct yourself and to take stock. Okay, how did my week look? What did I do? What could I have done better? And how am I going to take that information and apply it moving forward into this next cycle, into these next 7 days? And hopefully over time, you see improvement.
Right? Let's do verse 2 again. And on the sixth day, Aloha ended his work that he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had made. And Aloha blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because in it he had rested or ceased from all his work that Aloha created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created in the day that Yahuwah Aloha made the earth and the heavens. And also the word here for heavens is shamaim. There are waters. So we're not going to enter into that. You can believe the earth is plain, flat, round, cat shaped, pizza shaped. I don't care. There are waters up there. Either you believe or not.
Exactly. I don't care either. My rent's still due next week, whether the
I
earth
don't
is
care.
flat or the earth is round or it's a
The
cube.
the earth can look like a Stanley Cup, like my big ass mug here. I don't care. It doesn't change my life. I'm not an astronaut. I'm not a cosmonaut. I'm not up there. I don't care.
And also, like, not to get into it, right? Because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know for certain this, that, the other. I'll just say this: regardless of whether the Earth is flat, or it's round, it's a cube, it's a rectangular prism, it doesn't deny Yahushua's work. It doesn't
Right.
deny your salvation, and it doesn't take away about your obligations that you have on this flat, round, cube, cone, whatever Earth it is. You
And
have obligations, and whatever shape it is, does not deny what you need to be doing in this life.
yeah, right. And the reason I bring this up is because we're not supposed to break fellowship over these minor aspects of the walk, because we have a lot of conspiracy theorists out there that let's say if I say the Earth is round, they're going to say, "Oh, you are the NASA slave," and they're going to stop talking to me because of that. But we are supposed to major in the majors. We are supposed to major in the resurrection, the virgin birth, the washing by the blood, the salvation by the resurrection, the full divinity of Messiah, that he is 100% Yahuwah, 100% Aloha. So we're not supposed, let's say me and Nehemiah disagree in the fact that um, I believe that there were astronauts that stepped on the moon and he doesn't. Who cares? This is my opinion. This is his opinion. As long as we're not breaking scripture and causing division, we're good. We can agree to disagree. And I believe this is a tool and a practice that our generation lost. Because if I don't agree with you, you're the devil. You don't need to die. But in reality, when you go to a lot of people worship the Greek philosophers, they didn't agree in a lot of things, but they coexisted to a certain extent, and we are supposed to have the spirit, right? So how can we say we have the spirit if we don't agree with a friend or with a brother, and not of a sudden he's not our brother anymore because the opinions differ? It is one thing to disagree with a Nazi. That's a completely different story. But let's say Nehemiah doesn't like cayenne pepper. Not all of a sudden I do, and I say, okay, you're the devil because cayenne pepper is a medicine and whatever. That's not the point. Let's not break bridges or burn them when it is not necessary. Minor things need to be kept minor. Major things need to be worked on.
Exactly. What's important? Did Yahusha come and do what he did? That's what we need to agree on.
Right.
Is he who he said he was? Is he the only way to life? Is he the way, the truth, and the life? That's what we need to focus on. Not whether you eat lettuce, I don't eat lettuce, whether the earth is flat, whether the earth is round, whether we went to the moon, whether we didn't. Those things don't matter. What matters is accepting Yahusha, receiving his Torah, receiving his ways, and doing our best to follow and help each other in that walk and in that marathon. That's what
Right.
matters.
Want to study the flat earth? Be my guest. Just don't go crazy over it and start losing friendships because of it. Oh, they are lying to us. Oh, they are trying to sequester our freedom, and they say we are stuck in a ball so we cannot live in other planets. Whatever, man. Just try to get to 80. That's your focus now. Go to the gym, do some push-ups, get saved. Then we solve the other part. Verse 5, Genesis 2:5. And every plant of the field before it, let's do 4 again. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahuwah Aloha made the earth and the Shamayim, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for Yahuwah Aloha had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But didn't we see in chapter 1, verse 25, that he created male and female? What happened to these dudes? So, verse 6. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And Yahuwah Aloha formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the spirit of life, the Ruach of Chaim. And man became a living nephesh, a living soul. And Yahuwah planted a garden eastward in Eden. And there he put the man whom he had formed. So he basically created the frames, but he only breathed the spirit in chapter 2. But the first woman was not Eve. We're going to see her being created here in chapter 2, not in chapter 1. What happened to the first one? Nobody knows. What was her name? Nobody has any clue because Yahuwah has not revealed that to us yet in his manuscripts. We have tradition, we have opinions of people throughout the centuries, but opinions and the truth can be a different thing sometimes, most of the times. So, verse 7 again, and Yahuwah Aloha formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the spirit of life. And man became a living soul. And Yahuwah Aloha planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Yahuwah Aloha to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pishon, that is the one surrounding the whole land of Havilah, where there's gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there in the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon, the same one that surrounds the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Tigris or Tigris. That is the one that goes toward the east of Syria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And Aloha and Yahuwah Aloha took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. And Yahuwah Aloha commanded the man, saying, "Of every tree I forgot to say. Okay, the Garden of Eden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not surely eat of it. For in the day that you eat from it, you shall surely die."
I
And
just want to
Yahuwah,
say, I'm sorry to
right?
interrupt. Just want to say, people say, well, when was the Torah given? Well, the written Torah was given in Shavuot, right? When Moses goes up to the mount and receives the tablets and scribe.
In
Um,
Exodus 20.
but right here we see Torah being given, which is the command. So Yahuwah, right, is giving a command to those who dwell in the garden, Adam, and he's saying the command is, listen, you can do whatever you want. You can hang out, watch some Monday Night Football, a little soccer, whatever you want to do.
Right?
Enjoy any fruit you want, the mangoes, the apples, some peaches, some avocados, cool. Just don't eat this fruit. That's
Hang
Torah.
out with the lions, take a dive with the whales, do whatever you want. That fruit tree, don't touch it. Don't eat it, please. That's the only thing.
And that's Torah. That's a command straight from Yahuwah's mouth. He's saying, don't do this. He's giving you order. He's saying, do everything else except for this. Just don't eat this fruit.
Right. And that destroys a concept that we see in Christianity. Oh, I can do everything in Him that strengthens me. Therefore, I can sleep with anybody that I want to. I can go have a lot of babies out of wedlock. I can smoke weed and snort cocaine until I pass out. No, we have freedom inside of the guidelines. Torah, which the Jewish people refer to as being the first five book of Moses, the Pentateuch or the Decalogue in Exodus 20, actually means instruction. Torot, instructions. So basically, as Nehemiah said, and I agree 100%, what we are seeing here is the first commandment. Just don't eat the fruit. And we throw smoke, we throw shade at Adam, which, by the way, is not a name. Adam means human. So we created this name in English, is very common, Adam, like Adam Sandler. But technically, Adam means men, means human being. So we throw a lot of shade at him because his command, the only command he had to obey was very simple, just not eat. Yes, like we have in Leviticus 11, just don't eat pig. Is that too hard? Just don't eat lobster, shellfish, crayfish, scallops. Just don't do that. Is that so hard? So we kind of are hypocritical when we say that Adam just didn't have to eat a fruit. We don't know what fruit it was. Maybe it was mangoes. I love mangoes. That might have been very difficult for me not to do it. And then we go to Leviticus 11, and as we said before, a lot of people believe that everything from to the left of Matthew is worthless. But when we go to Leviticus 11, it's just a list of foods that we're not supposed to eat. The same exact command. So we're not supposed to be talking bad about Adam if we do the same. And I bring this question for the reflection of us all. Is that too hard to obey, or do we make it hard when we put our emotions in front of obedience?
Hmm?
So where was I?
um, 19?
No, I
No, no,
was
18.
18.
Let's read
Okay.
17 again, though.
17. Yeah, let's read 17. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat from it you shall surely die. And Yahuwah Elohah said, it is not good for the Adam or the human that he should be alone. I will make for him, therefore, a helper as his
Can I
counterpart.
say something else? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But just kind of go back to 17. Not only did he give his command, but he gave his judgment as well as if when you break that command,
Right.
right? So he says, you shall not eat of the fruit. And by the way, if you eat that fruit, then you're going to die. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to die the second he eats that fruit, but it means he has now set his life, his course. He has put the coordinates of his plane on autopilot to death, and
And
that
we
may come
see
immediately, and that may be he may live to 90, or in this case, an Adam lives a very
900.
long time. But he has set his course, and the
And the
judgment
point,
came.
the point is, as you said, as soon as you disobey, you are dieable. You can die technically. So let's get this through our thick heads. Disobedience leads to death. Let that sink in. Disobedience leads to death. Have that in the back of your head.
It's important to note too, like I said, that death may not be immediately, and that's where the trick is. Well, I slept with my neighbor's wife, and like I walked outside and I didn't get struck by lightning. Um, but don't be so sure of yourself. because you may
Yet,
not die in that moment, but eventually you will have to die.
yeah,
And the first death is for sure, especially for us, right? We're gonna die no matter what. But then there's the second death, and that's what we're here to avoid. We're here to receive eternal life. So don't think just because you didn't die instantly, and the Torah says if you do this, if you break the Shabbat, you shall be put to death. Well, just because you weren't stoned or because you weren't hung or you didn't die the second you broke Shabbat doesn't mean if you continue in that way that you won't lead to death. So just keep that in mind
yeah.
for anybody who
After
thinks they can get away with just anything.
after Yahushua's sacrifice, we received a whole bunch of grace. That's true. But let's not treat Yahuwah's grace and his unmerited favor as a big red button to go back instantly when I want it to. That's not a button. You don't know how many chances is he gonna give you.
Hmm.
So try to fly right is better than to try to correct the course of the ship when the iceberg is in front of you. It's easier just to sail with the right direction and arrive at this specific destination with the estimate amount of time and time of arrival timed instead of like, oh, last minute, I forgot we don't have enough fuel, and then the plane just drops. We are dealing with time, and as Nehemiah said, we are kind of susceptible to death every day. So let's just walk right. There is no period of stupidity as we have been programmed to have. There is no such thing as adolescence. Adolescence is a period that mankind invented to excuse bullshit behavior. Oh, but the front cortex is not well developed. Of course, because you're spending time playing Fortnite, or in my case, League of Legends. I thought I tossed 10 years of my life in the trash because of that. um, you're not spending these 10 years in the word. This is why you're not well developed, because you're not developing, you are regressing. I
Hmm.
know, I went through the same path. And blessed are the children that have parents that teach them right by the word.
Right.
So there is no time for there is no time to disobey, for disobedience. So take that out of your heads. There is no such time as, oh, I'm going to do it now, tomorrow I go to church. No, be right now. So 18.
Right.
And Yahuwah Aloha said, it is not good for that the Adam should be alone. I will make for him a helper then, as his counterpart. And out of the ground Yahuwah Aloha formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name of it. And Adam gave names to all the cattle, and to the fowls of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper as his counterpart. And Yahuwah Aloha caused the deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. This was the first anesthetics applied. He basically, knocked Adam out, did a right operation. Out of a sudden, boom, new human being.
You
You
remember that
guys,
meme I sent you?
which one? Yeah, yeah, I
The
do.
one where he's like punches, like, why you do it this way, bro?
Yeah. No, but Yahoo is a good doctor. He knows how to anesthetize people. So I wonder what one was that. And also, you guys say that we are crazy because we believe in creation and whatever. You guys believe in politics. What the hell are you talking about? Let's, just for the record. Um,
Well, it's not even that I believe in creation. I believe in the word of Yahuwah.
yeah,
That's the essence of it.
and you guys can think of me, Yoshi, being a crazy person, but I do believe in dinosaurs. So I'm not that crazy in your lenses. Oh, but how can you say that, brother? You believe in dinosaurs? Yeah, I do. Yahoo can create a lot of things. Why not a big ass blizzard? I don't
And
disagree with that.
And here's a fun thing for you because a lot of people will take Book of Genesis and they'll say, well, we can do this and we can number the generations and we know the earth is 7,000, 8,000 years old. Well, I want what I want some of you to do, and this may give you a different perspective, is go to verse 2 of chapter 1. I want you to go look at the Hebrew. Go look at the Bible Hub or whatever. Maybe you know Hebrew. And look at verse 2 and specifically where it says, and the earth was without form and void. And look at that word was. And look at the Hebrew and what that word means. And when you look at that word, maybe a better translation is the earth became this way. And that gives a completely different narrative to Genesis chapter 1, and that this actually may be a recreation event. How does Genesis first open? The waters over the earth. So this may be a post flood. Um, and this may be a recreation event, and maybe Yahuwah well, this isn't the first flood. Noah's flood may not be the first flood that happened on the
Right.
earth, and he may have been wiping away a previous pre-Adamic civilization. Um, and I'm not telling you don't take this as gospel. I'm just saying, look into it, and you might find a different interpretation, and you might find a better understanding of what is actually transpiring here,
And
and it
out of a
may get rid of
sudden,
this notion.
all these fossils that are found, s- they start being less of a hoax and more of a possible thing,
Mhm.
because there is no limitations to Yahuwah, none. He created us. He created little cells that push the muscles back and forth. He created all the animals we see and all the animals we done killed. So what is something else for him? Nothing. There is no impossibilities for him. 21. And Yahuwah Aloha caused the deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And with the rib that Yahuwah Aloha had taken from men, he made a woman and brought her to the men. And the Adam said, now, this time, this one is now bone of my bones, and this one is now flesh of my flesh. To this one she shall be called Isha, because this one was taken from out the Ish, the men. Therefore, shall an Ish leave his Abba, his father, and his mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. I want you guys to pay attention to the context.
Hmm.
Who is talking in verses 23 through 24? Is that Yahuwah? No. And Adam said, so therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother is not a commandment from Yahuwah. This is a statement from the mouth of Adam, a wounded man that lost his first woman, probably for rebellion. And now he says, okay, I cannot leave this one. So I'm going to do everything she says.
Hmm.
Isn't it interesting that afterwards Eve brings him the forbidden fruit and he does eat? Why? Because
Hmm.
probably he was trying to please her too much. Am I saying that we are not supposed to please our women and we are supposed to be chauvinists? No, I'm a married man. One of my greatest joys is to please my wife because I want to see her smile. And I'm supposed to die for her according to Ephesians 5. But at the end of the day, the hierarchy that Yahuwah presented is from the Father to the Son, from the Son to the angels, from the angels to men, from men to the women. So we are supposed to lead our houses. We are not supposed to leave our father and mother. The women, are supposed to leave their father and their mother. And why is that? Because Yahuwah said so. Go and complain to the manager. I'm not him. So you can tackle me and say that I'm saying a lot of BS and that I'm chauvinist, that I am an extremist. It is written here. I didn't make the rules, but I'm not gonna let you break them. I'm gonna give you the straight truth. Straight,
Hmm.
straight truth.
And when you look at it like that, it's very interesting because it has a completely different context. And I've spoken about this before in private with Yoshi and other people. But everybody likes to give Eve the blame, and rightfully so. I mean, she did things, and it,
She
it
messed
did
up.
contribute to the fall of man. But really, in my opinion, and not to jump too ahead because we're about to get to this in chapter 3, in my opinion, it's Adam's fault because Adam was a man, and you can see his own words, and because this was his belief that he needs to cling to his wife, and that kind of leads into chapter 3, and because he didn't do his job as a husband of creating the boundary, of creating the hedge of protection around his home, around his in this case the garden, which it wasn't Eve who was given the responsibility of tending to the garden. It was Adam who was given that responsibility, and Eve is supposed to be his helpmate to help him tend to the garden. And because he perhaps was letting Eve lead in this marriage, in this relationship, it led to the situation where Eve was susceptible to be manipulated, and what we're going to see by the serpent.
Especially because the instruction of not eating was given to Adam first.
Hmm.
So she didn't have much of like a backup. She didn't hear it. So out of a sudden her husband says, okay, don't eat it, but okay, I'll do it. So how is she at fault? Her covering kind of uncovered her.
Hmm.
So yes, she messed up, listening to the serpent, and we're gonna get to it. But Adam had the veto power, and he didn't exercise that. Why? Because he was wounded. Okay, this time I ain't gonna lose this one. I ain't gonna let this one go. So
Hmm.
everything she says goes because I want her.
hmm And it's interesting too because, like you said, Yahuwah told Adam to not eat of the fruit. And as far as I know, we don't have a record of Adam educating, being the priest of his home, and teaching his wife Torah, which is the commandment that Yahuwah gave him. So, for all we know, Eve may have never received that teaching from Adam. That, hey, by the way, you're in this garden, it's pretty cool, but Yahuwah did tell us that we shouldn't eat of this one tree. We don't know that. You know what I
Right?
mean?
Verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall be joined to his Isha, to his woman, and they shall be one flesh. And that goes to the plurality of one that we were talking about before. And they were both naked, the man and the woman, the Ish and the Isha, and were not ashamed because they were pure. They didn't have any, corruption in them. Chapter 3, go ahead.
Chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was craftier than any beast of the field that Yahuwah Eloha had made. And he said to the woman, Is it true? Has Eloha really said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden?
Okay, let me just stop you 1 second. Everybody says, and I'm saying everybody because it is everybody, they say that original sin was Adam and Eve's
Mhm.
fault. Okay, but who is talking to Eve here? The serpent. So there was already a devil. How did the devil become the devil? Rebellion. Ezekiel 28, I saw you falling from the sky as a lightning bolt. So the first sin was not the fall of men. That was the byproduct of the first sin. The first sin was um, the worship leader of heaven that everybody calls Lucifer, but his name is Mastema. We see that in the book of Jubilees. The first worship leader that was supposed to shine and reflect the light of Yahuwah to the other angels basically rebelled. He said, I am too beautiful, I am the most precious, I am the most powerful of these guys, so now I'm going to be Yahuwah. And then he fell to where? To a place that he can interact with mankind, Adam and Eve. But at this point, they were still angelical, so they were not humans yet. So what we see here, Adam and Eve, Adam Bechava, they were not the first sinful beings. There was already a devil. The rebellion came first. Rebellion breeds what? Disobedience. And this is the connect and this is the sequence we see. Rebellion brought disobedience. The rebellion of Satan brought the fall of Satan, that brought disobedience, that brought the fall of mankind. So have that in the back of your head. The original sin was not the fall of men. That was the result of the fall of the first angel, known as Puritan, or Satanas, Satan, Masterman, all the other names, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. He doesn't
hmm
have any name. He doesn't have anything because he is nothing. He's just a fallen angel that messed up.
And specifically, that sin was pride, right? He wanted to seat himself in Yahuwah's position.
Right?
Pride with a capital P. Because it's one thing to be prideful about the work you do. Oh, I made a nice little bookshelf. And then
Right.
there's also then the pride of, I'm going to be Yahuwah. I will be the creator of all things. I am this person now.
Right.
So that's where the problem is. And I want to stand corrected here because in verse 2 it says, And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit, in verse 3, of the tree of which is in the midst of the garden, Aloha has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. So it seems that Adam did relay that message, like, hey, by the way, we can have everything except this tree. But I still think I'm correct in the sense of he didn't do a good job of teaching
Right.
that. He didn't teach her the conviction, the understanding that this is an absolute. We cannot do this.
You are so correct that afterwards you're going to see Eve says, okay, now this time I have a man in my house when she receives her first son. Because
hmm
Adam was like a wuss. He was kind of, okay, I ain't going to do my job. And we're going to see why. Keep reading. It's interesting. Let's do two.
Verse, okay, 2. And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Aloha has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, You shall not surely die. For Aloha does know that in the day you eat of it, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Aloha, knowing Tov and evil. So what is Satan here saying? This is coming out of pride. Yahuwah doesn't want you to eat of this because he doesn't want you to be like him, but you can be like him. You and
Like
that's
I
the
am.
like he is, right? That's the same kind of spirit that he has behind him. Oh no, he just doesn't want you to eat this fruit because he doesn't want you to know that you can be like Aloha. The same idea that he had in heaven, which brought him down
Yeah.
to the earth.
And doesn't that sound familiar? No, no, you can go to the clubs. Just don't overdo yourself too much. Just go to work next day. You ain't gonna
Hmm.
die. You can't go back always, and then you drink, you drive, you die, and you die again. So don't listen to the messy voice that you hear in your head saying, "No, it ain't nothing gonna happen to you." You can go to church when you're 40. You can go to church when you're 50, and you lived your life. No, man. Freedom is not in doing everything you want. Don't
That's
children want
chaos.
to? Yeah. Don't children want to put their fingers on the outlet in the wall all the time? That is not good freedom. That is just men being men, humans being humans. We are not supposed to command ourselves because if we were, we would have created everything. But as we just saw, we didn't create diddly squat. We were created. That has a reason.
I mean, I like that word, diddly squat, one of my
Me too.
favorites. Five again. For Aloha does know that in the yom, or the day you eat of it, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Aloha, knowing Tov and evil. And when the woman saw that the eats or the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit of it and did eat, and gave it also to her husband with her, and he did eat. And again, this is like a representation of the allure of sin, of breaking Torah. Oh, it looks nice. It looks like it's delicious. It looks appetizing. And in the moment, it probably is. I mean, that might have been the best fruit taste wise in the whole garden. She's like, took a bite. Oh, this tastes delicious. I like this.
If sin was not good, nobody would commit it
If it didn't
because look at
feel good.
yeah, look at the reward. If sinning was not nice, nobody would do. And it is nice to sin. It is nice to sleep with people that is not yours because you ain't gonna see them in the morning. You don't need to deal with bad breath. You don't need to deal with depression. You don't need to deal with trauma. You just go your way. But look at the reward of it. So sinning feels good. But as Nehemiah said before, in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, I'm convinced that everything is good, but not everything is profitable for us.
Hmm.
You know what's good for tigers? Eating Impala's intestines. Do that yourself. Let's see how long you last.
According to Torah, we can eat hamburgers, right? Made from beef. It's delicious. Just because you can eat a hamburger doesn't mean you should go eat 30. So just
Eat,
because you can do something doesn't mean it's profitable. Doesn't mean that in the long run it's good. And that's the danger with sin, because one sin, it's a chain reaction. It leads to more and more and more and more. And in the moment, you get that pleasure, you get that satisfaction. But in the long run, you're going to reap the quote unquote rewards or the consequences. And that consequence doesn't necessarily mean negative, because consequence is just a byproduct. So you can have good consequences and bad consequences. But the point I'm saying is that in the moment, that sin feels good. To sleep with that woman you met at a bar feels good in that moment for that night. But in the long run, the fruit that's going to bear, the curses or the soul ties and everything else that can come with that, in the carnal, right? STDs, you can get this chick pregnant, you don't even know. All those things in the long run lead to death and lead to a disastrous outcome.
and don't get us wrong. We're not saying sinning is good. We're saying it feels good, and this is why it's so dangerous.
Hmm.
It feels nice to do messed up things, especially especially when nobody's looking. But as Nehemiah said, we have a chain reaction, and a lot of people never get the chance to get out of it. So beware.
Hmm. It feels, I'm sure, I've never done heroin, but I'm sure it feels good in the moment. It does. But what happens in the long run? It kills you,
Right?
destroys your body, destroys your mind, it destroys your flesh.
Your relationships, everything you have.
So just because something feels good doesn't mean it actually is good.
Right?
um 7. I'll read 6 again. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit of it, and did eat, and gave it also to her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves breeches. And they heard a voice of Yahuwah Aloha walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his Isha hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Aloha among the trees of the garden. And that's pretty common, right? What do a lot of us do when we sin? When we do, especially once we're
Hide.
saved and we know right from wrong. What do? Oh, I got a problem with marijuana. I'm smoking again. I fell back into it. I'm not going to go to Shabbat. I'm not going to talk to, my pastor, my spiritual leader, and try to find a solution. I'm going to hide, and I'm not going to tell anybody. But the problem with that is that when you hide things, you can never solve them. Light is the best disinfectant. You have to bring those things to light so you can address those issues that are causing you to walk down that path continually.
Right.
Um, 8. Again, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah Aloha walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his Isha hid themselves in the presence of Yahuwah Aloha among the trees of the garden. And Yahuwah Aloha called to Adam. So who is Yahuwah addressing first?
The
The head of the
man.
household, the priest. He's not calling Eve first, he's calling Adam. 9. And Yahuwah Aloha called to Adam and said, Where are you? Rhetorical question, because Yahuwah knows everything. He knew where he
Yeah.
was the whole time. You can't hide from Yahuwah.
Right.
You can think you can hide, but Yahuwah knows. He knows where you are. He knows your sin already.
Right.
And Yahuwah Aloha called to Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree that I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman who you gave to be with me, she gave me the tree and I did eat.
What a
Disgusting
man.
behavior.
What
Disgusting
a man.
behavior. This is called lack of personal accountability. And I'm sure that's not specific to nowadays. People, not just men, anybody, human beings, they struggle with personal accountability. We want to put the blame on others. Well, this person brought the apple to me. Well, just because the apple came to you doesn't mean you had to eat it, right? Just because temptation comes and knocks on the door doesn't mean you have to open it.
And even though somebody gave you the fruit, you ate
Mm-hmm.
until like your action belongs to you. Own it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, 11. And he said, Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahuwah said to the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, The serpent deceived me, and I did eat. And Yahuwah Aloha said to the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall be gazing up at his heel. And 15 is a beautiful verse because I believe in the Greek it's called the proto-evangelium, right? The first
Proto-evangelium.
the first utterance of the gospel, right? This is prophecy being spoken, right? Who's going to crush us? Well, this is Yahusha. He's speaking about Yahusha.
And
That
why
he
the
will.
seed of the woman? We know women don't have seed, but Yahusha was housed in a woman's body. So the seed of the woman, the Messiah that comes from the woman, but not necessarily from the men.
Hmm. Um, it's a beautiful verse. So you see the gospel the gospel didn't come about, and this is right, and we'll eventually read through Matthew when we get to it. But the point being that the gospel didn't come about in Matthew. It didn't start in Matthew. The gospel began here, began in
Right?
the garden, began in the beginning. It was predestined from before the earth was even made. This was the plan all along.
We see, just to mention it, in John chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning was the Milta, the Word, and the Word what was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. Okay, so let's backtrack. In the beginning was the Word, so the Word existed. Who was the Word that became flesh? Yahusha, Jesus. And the Word was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. So if the creator of heaven and earth is Yahuwah, the creator of heaven and earth is the Word that became flesh. So if the Word was in the beginning, how come we only talk about him in Matthew? And that's the whole point. He doesn't show up in Matthew unannounced. We have been taught he been here all this time. He created everything, and you can verify that in Colossians 1:19. By him all things were created that were created. So Yahweh is the Yahweh the Father, and we spoke about this before. All the three are one, but Yahuwah the Father is the projector, the designer, and Yahusha is the executing arm, the creating arm through the power of the Spirit. So technically, if you want to be technical, Yahusha before he had this name was the true creator. So he was there from the beginning, and as Nehemiah said, we have his first proclamation of the gospel here in verse 15, the proto-evangelium.
Amen. 15 again. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall be gazing up at his heel. What a beautiful sight.
Right. Bam.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring out children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. So this
Okay,
is
so
Yahuwah.
yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
So this is Yahuwah correcting the wrong. He's restoring. He's saying, listen, you've allowed chaos into this garden, and because you have not aligned yourself with the proper order, I'm gonna have to correct your behavior. So I'm gonna set it right, and this is a command. He's commanding. He's giving Torah, right? It wasn't written at this time; it was oral, but he's giving a command. He's saying, "I'm gonna correct the wrongs of which you've done." And instead of you clinging to your wife, right, which was Adam's words, he says, "I'm gonna give you the proper order," and that is that what does he say here? And your desire shall be to your husband; he shall rule over you. It doesn't mean he should be a tyrant. It doesn't mean a man should just be beating his wife into submission. No,
No.
there's righteous ruler, and there's unrighteous rulership.
And there is no such thing as perfect leadership. There is righteous leadership though. And for you ladies, I don't know to whom I'm saying this, but I believe the Ruach is telling me to say this. Oh, but I don't. I'm never gonna follow any man. Yeah, if the man pays the bills, if he provides for you, if he takes good care of you, if you have sex, if you have a good house, if he does everything that he told you he was going to do, you will follow him. The problem is you're choosing a lot of nobodies, a lot of losers, no good for nothing. Of course, nobody will ever want to follow. Nobody will ever want to follow such a person. I wouldn't either. It is not just you. Let's say Yahoo raises up a leader. If he doesn't have the characteristics, if he doesn't walk the walk, I'm not following him. If he doesn't prove himself by the scriptures, if he doesn't live what he preaches, nobody's going to follow him, not just you. But experiment having a righteous man. You will have a kick out of following this guy. And
Mhm.
I'm not talking about myself. I'm not talking about Nehemiah. Maybe I am, but I'm talking about men that Yahweh raises. A
Correct.
true man that does the opposite of what Adam did. And if he gets into your face and say, "Shape up, I'm the head here," he better back this up. Because if he isn't, you have the right to change, and you have the right to expect some change of him. So it's not that you don't want to follow men. You don't want to follow boys. That's the point.
You don't want
Find
to follow the
yourself a
wrong
good
man.
man. Yeah,
And
don't
here's
follow the wrong man. If he's telling you to do, messed up things, if he's telling you to, oh yeah, open an OnlyFans account, we're gonna be rich. That ain't it. He's not it. He's another Adam.
and obviously I can't speak for the past. The past was very different, but I don't live in the past. I live in today, and at
Right.
least I live in the United States, right? I'm not talking about in other obscure countries where, unfortunately, there may be different systems of laws where women are forced into marriage and stuff like that. But if you live in the United States or you live in a relatively free country, as a woman, you have the choice. So it's not about, oh, I don't want to follow a man. Well, the right word should be, I don't want to follow an unrighteous man. I don't want to follow the wrong man. So you have a choice. You choose a good man who is worth following, and no man who isn't worth following shouldn't expect someone to follow him. If you're a man that doesn't have his house in order, doesn't have his house in order, if you can't figure out your left foot from your right foot, you don't deserve to have a woman in your life to lead because you can't even lead yourself. So as a woman, you have to take some kind of responsibility. And don't get mad at me. I'm just being honest. You have to take some kind of accountability, at least. And of course, I'm doing this in the constraints of if you live in a country where you're able to pick your husband and so on, or you're in a situation where you have that freedom to pick the husband who you're going to marry. If you have that freedom, then you have a choice in who you marry and who you follow. So if you end up marrying a man and you chose that man who doesn't know how to lead righteously, that's your fault. You
The
chose that man.
consequences are yours.
You should have been more careful. You should have probably been part of a congregation, a spiritual father, or your actual father, if you have a good father, and take
And
into account how important of a decision that is. Because when you make this covenant, this is a covenant for your life. This is a person you're going to be bound to the rest of your life. And it's not just a decision you just make. Oh, this person's attractive. Oh, they have pretty eyes. They got everything in the right places, so on and so forth. No, is this man put in my life by Yahuwah? Ask Yahuwah, pray to Yahuwah for him to reveal to you the man you're supposed to marry. And for men, pray to Yahuwah, who is the woman whom you're supposed to be married to.
Yeah, this is not just for the ladies. And by the way, you ain't supposed to find a good person in a bar, not because they are bad, but if they love more the booze than they love you, it ain't gonna work. Go find yourself a congregation. Stop hiding. Stop being a lone wolf because isolation doesn't bring anything good. If you want to if you want to get an example, this is going to be a bad reference, but look at the movie Castaway. What did that isolation bring? Craziness, loneliness, sadness, sorrow. You're not going to find yourself well in life being isolated and, oh, I don't follow any man, I just follow Jesus, he is my pastor. Okay, call him. I dare you. Go, okay,
Mhm.
go find him. Go to his house when you have a heart attack and need somebody to drive you to the hospital. It ain't gonna happen. He left offices. He left people for us to use. He left apostles so we can get to them and say, "Yo, try to see this girl for like a year. See if is she see if she is good enough for me. Not in the sense that I am this, the last slice of bread. No, but I want you to assess her walk. See if she's suitable for me, and see if I am suitable for her too. Humiliation, humbleness are things that are very frowned upon in our society because everybody wants to be the alpha one. But you only get to be the alpha once you are led before, because you don't understand leadership unless you have been led. And also, if you have a person or people that are in their 60s, in their 70s, they have 40 years of successful marriage, why are you going to waste this advice?
Mhm.
Why are you going to forsake uh, this experience while like they can weigh in a decision and they have experience of mistakes you don't need to make. So go to your spiritual father and arrange a marriage. It ain't no shame in that. It ain't no shame in do something right. Oh, but I'll choose for myself. Okay, do it. But if you want to do it in the light of the scriptures. Do it in the light of the character. Marry somebody that is there, that you see, that you can verify their walk. Marry somebody that you see is going to do their role. You're not going to want a rebellious husband or a rebellious wife, because everything you get with you, you're going to reap afterwards. I don't know to whom am I saying this, but somebody's going to profit this. Marry right. The Apostle Paul Shalach Shaul said, I would rather everybody be single so we wouldn't have these problems, but it ain't scripture. This is just my opinion. If you want to marry, it's better to marry than to burn. He said it. So I agree with him. I'm a married man. I went I went to Shaliach and said, "Yo, this I know this woman. She is 2 years in the faith. I am 2 years in the faith. What do you think?" And he tested her. She passed the test, and here we are. We never had a fight in almost 2 years of marriage. And I've been told that ain't common. So if you marry right, everything is gonna turn out well. I'm not saying we'll never fight. I mean, I am, because I believe in the faith that I have, but we are less. How do you say? Yeah, we are less susceptible to messed up results. Let's say she gets pregnant. She's my wife. I'm gonna be a happy father. This is the worst that can happen. So marry right, people.
Amen.
17 again.
17. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your Isha, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake, and sorrow shall you eat from it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring out for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. By the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, until you return to the ground, for out of it were you taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. And something I find very interesting. Yeah, I think it's funny. Just reminds me, people will be like, "Man, rightfully so. I get it. I, excuse me, I hate Adam. Because he did this. Now I gotta suffer." Well, of course. And it just goes to show how the decision of one man doesn't just affect himself, but it affects those around you, and not just those around you, but it can affect the generations after you. Because
Every man is a generation.
because Adam made one wrong decision, or probably a chain of wrong decisions leading up
Right.
to this moment, right? But his one decision didn't just affect him. Judgment didn't befall just him, but it has affected everybody after him. So it just goes to show this is the importance. This is why it's important to do the best you can to minimize the mistakes. No one's going to be perfect. That's very clear. But the aspiration is perfection. As your life goes on, as your walk goes on, you should be able to get closer and closer and closer to that perfection. And then when the day comes that we must move on, that we must pass in this earthly body, Yahusha fills in the gap. But he's not going to fill in that gap if you didn't do your part.
Yep. And Yahusha said himself, and we are going to get there. You be perfect as my heavenly Father is perfect. How so? Be obedient, as perfect as you can. Don't cut corners. Don't find excuses. Obey. You're gonna be, better off obeying than doing your own thing. Believe me.
And 19 again. It's a pretty negative verse because he's given Adam's judgment, but I just think it sounds so poetic the way, at least in the English, how it sounds, and I'm sure it sounds even more poetic in the Hebrew. By the sweat of your face shall you eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return.
Right.
And Adam called his Isha, his wife's name Chava or Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahuwah Eloha make coats and skins, clothe them. And Yahuwah Eloha said, See, the man, Adam, has become as one of us, to know Tov and evil, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore,
So
Yahuwah.
I just wanted to make a comment upon verse 21. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahuwah Elohim make coats of skins. Skins of what? So we don't need Matthew, technically, Mark, Luke, and John to preach the gospel. Which animal do you guys think was skinned for this atonement? Because they messed up. They messed up real bad. Jaime, what
I'm,
animal do you think
I'm,
that
I'm
was?
raising my hand because you guys probably can't see, but my hypothesis is a lamb or a
Right.
goat.
Referencing what? The Lamb of
Lamb of
Yah who
Yahuwah.
takes the sins of the world, in the words of John the Baptist or Yohanan Hamatpil for you Hebrew fanatics. So the gospel technically is in the book of Genesis in the first three chapters. You don't kind of need anything else.
Hmm.
Who do you think they were talking about in Deuteronomy 18:18? A prophet unto Moses. Yahusha has been talked about ever since the beginning. It doesn't start in Matthew, folks. And why are we saying this? Because the law, the Mosaic, as people say, the Mosaic, the law of Yahuwah is before Matthew. What are we supposed to obey if even the Ten Commandments are given in Exodus? And where is Exodus located? In within the five books of Moses. So if you say that the law has been nailed to the cross, you are essentially saying that there's nothing else to obey. So what is Yahusha talking about? Keep my commandments. It makes you to wonder, okay, what law is he talking about since he nailed the old one to the cross? Oh, he's talking about the Ten Commandments. Really? The Ten Commandments that are in the Old Testament? So you see how twisting scripture doesn't make any sense when you start to think about it? Let's just, let's just progress with this open mind that a lot of the things that we know to be true technically are not.
Hmm. And what a beautiful thing too, because we see Yahuwah providing that covering. What is he covering too? He's covering their nakedness, right?
Right.
He's covering. It's like where it says, your sins will be white as snow. You won't see them. He's covering that nakedness, and they will not be held liable. Presumably, and we don't have a whole lot of context of kind of what happens to Adam the rest of his life. Did he continue to sin? Did he fall back into sin? Did he get his act together
Was
and
he
redeem
saved?
him and get redeemed? We don't know. But we know that in this moment he was covered. Did he keep that covering? Because you can become covered, but you can lose it as well.
Right.
22.
22.
And Yahuwah Eloha said, See, the man Adam has become as one of us, to know tov and evil, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore Yahuwah Aloha sent him out from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from where he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of Eden Heruvim, which is a type of angel,
Cherubim.
cherubim, and a flaming sword that turned in every direction to guard the way back to the tree of life.
And we go back to the previous chapters. What was Adam supposed to do? To till the ground and to guard the garden. So once he fell, he was fired. Yahuwah needed a replacement. And what did he put? Another man susceptible to falling? No. Now he put the big guns, because we are supposed not to be deceived, but unfortunately, a lot of us are. By what? The sweet words of deceiving from the serpent. So
Hmm.
what we take from this, we are going to see a lot of deceiving happening in our lives, and the key is, are you prepared to identify good from evil?
Hmm.
Be prepared. If you're not, find somebody that is, and learn.
And interesting too that he put a flaming sword that points in every direction at the entrance of, or on the way to the tree of life to try to get access to that tree of life. And what does a flaming sword do? It cuts. A flaming sword, and it burns. So in order to get to that tree of life, you must cut away, you must burn away that sinful flesh. The get remove and cut out the desire,
The dross.
the dross. So it's just, you want to get to the tree of life. We'll prepare to get cut and burned,
And what
and
is the word called? The two-edged sword
hmm the
that
word is like a
divides
two-edged
flesh
sword.
from the spirit. So you are supposed to be chopped up and burned a lot to get access to it. Does that hurt? Yes, it
Immensely,
does.
immensely.
But
But it's
let me
good
break
pain.
it.
It's good
Yeah,
pain.
let me break it to you. A sword is not made either through fire and a lot of hammering. So, for those that are blacksmith enthusiasts like I am, you see a good katana. How is that made? A good European two-handed sword, a bastard sword, the Anduril, the flame of the West in Lord of the Rings, the sword of Aragorn. All swords are made through fire and beating. So if you want to get back to the Eden, oh, Jesus loves me, and then I can smoke weed all day long and get the hookers and preach the gospel to them after we have sex. No, man, that ain't gonna happen. Wake up. You
Hmm.
need a lot of sacrifice. Not everybody go to heaven. Oh, my Aunt Jamie, my Aunt Jemima, she lived, she was saved her whole life, but yeah, she cussed a lot, but ain't no problem. It's not easy to get to heaven. It ain't easy to get to heaven. It is easy to be saved, but it ain't easy to maintain salvation. So have that in the back of your head. Not everybody, not all the uncles that you had, not all the alcoholic parents that you had, not everybody go to heaven. Let that have let that be in the back of your head. It is a sacrificial thing. It is difficult. You need to be cut, you need to be burned, you need to be corrected, you need to be humbled, you need to be placed under people that are going to tell you what to do, and you ain't going to like it because you are a human being, but guess what? That's the process.
Hmm.
It's better
And
to enjoy it than to resent it.
of course, and also just to keep on the sword analogy, you know, a good sword, a high quality, durable sword that gets the job done isn't just put in the flame once. You don't just dip it in the oil and then into the flame once. You don't just hammer it once. It's a process that takes time. The best swords aren't just done overnight. It's not something you just no, no, no. The best swords, the most durable, the sharpest, that retain that sharpness with impact and impact. Those are beaten and beaten and beaten, dipped in the fire continually and continually and continually. And that's what this walk is about. Is it's not like you just get saved and you're good to go. Now that's only the beginning. That's the
Right,
start of the work. That's the easy part. Is receiving salvation. But like you said, maintaining it is a process, a lifelong process, that
right,
it doesn't just stop as soon as you utter the sentence, I believe in Yahusha and he's my savior. No, that's the beginning. That's the first step. The first step of many, 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 many miles
right.
or kilometers.
Is a gigantic marathon, not just a 100-meter sprint.
Yep.
Okay, let's do 33, 23, and 24, and then we enter the last chapter of Genesis. I don't know if we're going to be able to cover everything because we already 1 hour and 45 minutes into it, but let's see.
Yeah. I think maybe it might be. We could maybe do. Tell me what you think. We do like one episode is. It's like each parsha is A and B. You have the Torah
Oh,
portion,
okay, cool.
and then we have the next episode is the Matthew. In this case, Matthew 1 through 6.
The renewed covenant.
Because yeah, with our commentary, we're already an hour and 40, and we're barely finished
I
chapter
don't
4.
care. I'm a teacher by trade, so deal with it.
Well, you're the
I
one that
like
brought
it.
it up.
I like it. I
So,
like it.
all
I'm
right,
not
4.
saying to you. I know you like it, but I'm talking about the listener.
No, no, I know. Just teasing.
Okay, 23. Go ahead.
Had to wet the whistle. Therefore, Yahuwah has sent him out from Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, to work the ground from where he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, a cherub and a flaming. Is it cherub or cherub?
Cherubim,
Beam.
plural, several.
Cherubim. Um, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden a cherubim and a flaming sword that turned in every direction to guard the way back to the tree of life.
And one thing, cheruvim is plural, so it's not just one. We have a lot of security guards there.
Hmm?
A lot of electric fencing and security guards guarding the entrance back to it.
And what does that mean? That means you're not getting in unless you got the pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what is the past? The true name Yahusha Yahuwah, because people say, "Oh, the mark of the beast is Elon Musk produced." No, come on, man. Do you think Yahuwah is so silly to let one man deceive the whole mankind? No, what is the mark of Yahuwah? We're going to see that throughout the line in Leviticus and the Aaronic benediction. The mark of Yahuwah is the name of Yahuwah upon the frontlets between our eyes and our hands. So if that's the mark of Yahuwah, what do you think is the mark of Satan? Is a chip? Is it a chip that gives you aimbot in Valorant or in CSGO? No, don't be silly, people. Don't try to understand heavenly things comparing to earthly things. Yes, they are going to happen in earth, but do you think yourself that Yahuwah would lower his standards so much that a human being can contend with him? Come on, man, give me a break. But don't get me started.
We get no breaks. We keep going.
Genesis 4. And Adam had known sexual interaction, yet figuratively and also physically, sexual interaction. He had known his wife as he should. And she conceived and bore Cain and said, I've gotten a man. Finally, Yahuwah gave me a man because that one, he's a wuss. We are in this predicament because he didn't open his mouth and I received the blame. That ain't no man. That's less manly than I am. So now I have gotten a man from Yahuwah. And she again bore his brother Hevel or Abel. And Hevel was a guardian of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground like his daddy. 3. Sorry, I have rhinitis, so sometimes it's difficult to breathe. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought from the fruit of the ground an offering to Yahuwah. And Hevel also brought of the firstborns of his flock and of its fat. And Yahuwah had respect from Hevel and his offering. Why do you think that, Nehemiah? I have my opinion, but why do you think that is?
I think because he knew what Yahuwah wanted, which is the best offering he could give him.
And
And
okay, go ahead. Keep going.
and it's kind of alluded in the rest of this chapter. Basically, Cain gave a subpar offering. He didn't give Yahuwah his best. He said, you know what? I'm gonna give him whatever I got. I'll just give him a little something, something, just to get him off my back. So what does he receive? You you receive what you give. You know what I mean? You give Yahuwah the bare minimum, you're gonna get the bare minimum.
And
You give Yahuwah the
I go even deeper. What were we talking about in Genesis 3:15? The proto-evangelium, Yahusha's
hmm
sacrifice. Doesn't everything point to him?
hmm
So what do you think was the sacrifice for? That is pointing to the Pesach, the Passover.
hmm
So in the Passover, are we supposed to eat lamb or just the bitter herbs? Bitter herbs. We are supposed to eat the lamb. So the sacrifice is supposed to be a lamb of the first year without blemishes, without
hmm
faults, without being handicapped. So what does Hevel did? He brought from the Bechorot, the firstborns, The first year lamb, does that ring a bell? The firstborns of his flock and the fat of it, the best of it. And what did Cain do? He tried to do what he wanted, just the bitter herbs. But it is written in Exodus 12, let every man get for his own household a lamb. You're not supposed to rely on everybody else. It's your responsibility to bring Yahusha into your house. It's not your wife's, it's not your son's, it's your responsibility to bring the lamb to your house. So it's not just that Yahuwah, didn't like my sacrifice. No, there is an order for things, and you're not supposed to break it. That's the point,
Man,
from my perspective. I may be wrong, from my
I think
perspective.
you're right.
So, three. In process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought from the fruit of the ground as an offering to Yahuwah. And Hevel also brought of the firstborns of his flock and of its fat. And Yahuwah had respect for Hevel and his offering. But to Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very angry, and his face displayed hate. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angered and annoyed? And why is your face displaying hate? Like, why the long face, boy? If you do well, shall you not be accepted? Okay, but why is not doing well bringing the herbs? Because the order is to bring from the best that you have, the lamb, Yahusha. Everything that we do point to Him. If you are too busy talking about the Shabbat, uh, uh, if you're too busy talking about the flat Earth, if you're too busy talking about discovering, oh, was there a pre-Adamic society? Regardless, the focus, the point is Yahusha in the center of everything you preach, of everything you say, everything you do? If it is not, shape up, because otherwise you're going to have a Cain response. Why? Why you're angry that I'm not blessing you? You ain't pointing to my son. What do you expect?
Hmm.
That's the focus. Let's treat Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because technically one points to the Messiah and the others point and report what he did. This is the same book, people.
Hmm. And a good way to look at it is that the Torah points forward to the Messiah. It's saying
Right.
this is what is to come, and what the Gospels are doing, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is they're pointing back and they're referencing like, look what came, look what already came, already here it was. This is what happened. So they're
Right.
all pointing to the Messiah. One's pointing forward and one is pointing back.
Precisely. Our forefathers looked forward with hope, with faith. We look backwards to with hope and faith. But guess what? Messiah was in the middle of us all. We
Hmm.
are not in the correct generation, but it is written we are a chosen generation because he did what he did.
He's at the center,
Right.
nonetheless.
He's the middle branch of the menorah of the lampstand. Okay, so verse 6. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angered and annoyed? And why is your face displaying hate? If you do well, shall you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at your door. What sin? Disobedience. And its
Hmm.
desire is for you. Didn't we say that it is very attractive to disobey?
Hmm.
But what does Yahuwah expect of us? You should rule over it.
Hmm.
So the tendency is you don't bring Messiah into your house, sin of disobedience lies at your door. But you should be able to rule over it. But if you don't have the doorposts anointed with the blood of Messiah, as we are supposed to have already because he has already come, I mean, you are susceptible to it.
Amen.
Verse 8. And Cain talked with Hevel, his ach, his brother. Let us go out in the field. Let me show you something. Let me show you the new truck I bought, new tractor for my crops. And it came to
A
pass.
John Deere.
Yeah, the John Deere thing, that little 1964 beauty. And it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Hevel and bashed his head with a rock and killed him. And Yahuwah said to Cain, where is Hevel your brother? Yahuwah has this funny thing. He sees everything, but he wants you to confess it.
Hmm.
And why is that? Because he wants you to have a chance of redemption.
Hmm.
That's the crazy thing. I love
Hmm.
it.
To take accountability, right? He gave
Right.
Adam that option. He said, "Yo, did you? What's going on? Did you eat the fruit? Listen." The woman you gave me. She's not taking accountability.
Yeah,
And that's what he's asking of us all. Take accountability for your actions. Because
right.
that is the first step in redemption is to acknowledge that you made a mistake. Because if you don't acknowledge you made the mistake, how are you ever going to go about fixing it?
Precisely, and this is the point of Romans 10, 9, and 10. With the believing in the heart, man believes to redemption, but with the mouth, man confess to salvation. So let's stop and think. We haven't seen a single confession of mistakes. I like to think, and this is me, that this ain't scripture. This is me. It's based on scripture, but it ain't. It ain't it. What would have happened if Adam would have said, "Yes, Yahweh, I've sinned. Please forgive me." What do you think would have happened? But no, we don't see confession. We see we see guilt appointing. We see finger pointing. We don't see confession. So this is precisely the opposite of what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to confess because what is the confession of Romans 10, 9, and 10? Basically saying, Yahusha, I messed up. Please clean me with your blood. I accept you in my life. Please forgive me. Is the confession that Adam didn't do. And this is why we are in the predicament that we are. And I know we are want to chop his head off with a sword or with a spoon, but we are supposed to forgive him because it is written we are supposed to forgive 70 times 7. So calm down, people. I know, I understand. We are supposed to forget our granddaddy,
Yeah. And just like in James 5, it says, confess your sins one to another,
right?
right? That you may be healed. That is the first step in the process of healing is to confess that sin, to bring it to light so that it can be cleansed, so that it can be corrected.
Precisely. You bring to the light, as Nehemiah said, the sun is the best detergent, is the best disinfectant. Bring it to the light, you shall be healed. Verse 9. And Yahuwah said to Cain, where is your brother Hevel? And he said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? In other words, you are trying to lie to the face of the creator of heaven and earth. How stupid can you be? And this is why he was renegated as his father was, because there was no confession. There was lies, deceiving, and finger pointing. And this is not the conduct that Messiah expects of us. Uh, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's guardian? Yes, you are. We are our brother's keeper.
Hmm.
Verse 10. And he said, what have you done? You just had one job. Just confess you're wrong. Just confess you messed up. That's it. I mean, this sin
Hmm.
is kind of grievous. He killed, but
Hmm.
Yahuwah forgave everything. Yahusha forgave everything. So it kind of counted as well. But what have you done? You have one job. You had one job. The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. In other words, do you think you can deceive me?
You're lying to my face right here. I see. I already
I
know the answer.
I listen to the blood. Do you think you can deceive me, boy? 11. And now you are cursed from the earth that has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, since you brought me just the bitter herbs, not the lamp, it shall not from now on yield to you its strength. A fugitive and a wanderer shall you be in the earth.
A very similar judgment that he gave to Adam, right? Thorns and
Precisely.
thistles shall you reap.
Like father, like son, like profession, like mistake, like deceiving, like result.
Hmm.
13. And Cain said to Yahuwah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. You know, breaking news. You messed up, brother. See, you have driven me out of this. You have driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from your face shall I be hidden, and I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that finds me shall try to kill me. And
And
Yahuwah said to him, oh, go ahead.
it's interesting too because it it's such a terrible attitude to have because Yahuwah is giving. He's trying to be. He's not trying. He's always graceful and merciful. He's trying to give Cain the opportunity continually to redeem himself. But instead, what does Cain do? He doubles down on his
Right.
efforts. Yeah, he gets even more. He's like, oh, I'm gonna. I shall be a fugitive. I shall wander. I shall. Instead of repenting.
Yeah.
He doubles down. He doubles down in his sin
And
and his
he
terrible
keeps
thinking.
increasing. He keeps increasing his bad consequences. Yahuwah said, You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer, and the soil is not going to give you its strength anymore. And what does he say afterwards? Oh, but your face shall be hidden from me. I shall be a fugitive, and everybody that shall come to me shall try and kill me. Like he keeps adding to the punishment that Yahuwah didn't add to him. So this is the point that we are trying to establish here, people. We are connecting the quote unquote Old Testament to the quote unquote New Testament. How do we find the references and how do we find the connections here? Repent. Yahusha said, go and sin no more. Instead of just trying to find excuses and justification for your bad behavior, just sit down, acknowledge you messed up, accept the forgiveness, and fly right. Is that too
Mhm.
difficult for you?
Correct
It
the
may,
course.
but it shouldn't. And if is, news for you, shape up. I don't care if it's difficult. It was for us. But that's the good news. He has a way out for you. It's not easy for a lot of people, but it can be. It's just a matter of accepting your fate, and also your new path. What did
Amen.
Yahushua say he was? I am the truth, I am the way, and I am life. So if I stick with the truth, I have a new way that brings life. Does that
Amen.
make any sense?
Makes sense to me.
That's it. That's it, brother. I know what the problem with it. It ain't no gas in it. I love that video.
That's a good one.
Okay, so 15. And Yahuwah said to him, therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. In other words, Yahuwah says, come on, man, calm down. Calm
Yeah.
down. Stop cursing yourself. Calm down. I am graceful. Calm down.
What a beautiful thing too, because even it, it's like Cain is like he doesn't. It's like he doesn't want to accept the forgiveness. He's
Yeah,
fighting and fighting and fighting it. He says, "Well, I don't have to worry about it because I'm gonna end up wandering, and someone will have to kill me." And Yahuwah says, "No. By the way, if anyone tries to kill this guy, it's gonna be a bad day for you." And it's
yeah,
like Yahuwah's saying, like, okay, and who know? I mean, we don't know the end of Cain, and if he ended up knocking some sense into his head, but the idea that Yahuwah gave him at any point, could you have been like, all right, dude, I'm done with this guy. It's right here. We're gonna end it. You're done, so. But he said, no, I'm not gonna let anyone kill you. You'll be wandering, and hopefully, in that wandering, you will get some sense knocked into you that you can redeem yourself, you can repent, and you can admit to your sins and correct yourself or
right.
receive the correction from Yahuwah.
I mean, just a pause so you can edit. I just need to eat after we read this chapter because I don't know if you can see, but I'm shaking.
Yeah, dude, I'm starving.
Me too. Okay, verse 15. And we can record this second episode in another day if you want.
Yeah,
Let's just
we'll
knock
sort
this
it out.
Genesis one,
We'll
just
sort it out.
Genesis part, sort
Yeah.
it out. Okay, so verse 15 again. And Yahuwah said to him, therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahuwah set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So again, the constant mercy and favor of Yahuwah.
And it also shows, just to say this, it is not man who numbers his days. It is
Yeah,
Yahuwah who numbers your days. And Yahuwah decides when it is your final breath. Not when another man, if it's up to Yahuwah.
right. 16. And Cain went out from the presence of Yahuwah and dwelt in the land of Nod, to the east of the Garden of Eden. And Cain knew his wife sexually again, and she conceived and bore Enoch, the first one, not the good one, the bad one. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Hanok. And to Hanok was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehuyael, and Mehuyael begot Methusael, and Methusael begot Lamech. I know it's boring that part, people, but we need to read this. Why? Because we need to confirm the genealogy of Matthew 10 with this. If this doesn't align with the genealogy of Matthew 10, then that dude ain't the Messiah, and then we are in trouble. And as Apostle Paul says, then we are of men the most miserable ones because our faith makes no sense. So
Hmm.
I know it's boring, but it is needy. If it wasn't, Yahuwah wouldn't have put this here.
Hmm.
Bear with us. 19.
And
No,
also, just say, just to kind of give a little more context, we're saying, you want to think of this as a map,
right.
right? This is a map laying out the direction because for Yahusha to be the Messiah, there's specific requirements that must be met, and this is how we can reference, right, and the Gospels when Anybody can wake up and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm the Messiah. I came," but not anybody can say it. There's requirements. You have to come from a specific bloodline at a specific time to a specific place. So think of
Right?
this stuff as a map. When you see these genealogies and there's a bunch of names and this, it's a map. It's a direction
It's a
to
point of
guide
reference.
you and point you to who the Messiah is.
Right? 18. And Genesis 4:18. Into Chanok was born Irad, into Irad, and Irad begot Mehuyael, and Mehuyael begot Methusael, and Methusael begot Lamech. And Lamech took two wives. Oh, he's a polygynist. Oh, this is the first sin. No, man, get up, grow up. The name of one was Adar, and the name of the other Zillah. Was he a bad person because of that? I mean, he could have been a serial killer. I have no idea. But the two wives point, grow up, people. It happened. Jacob had four. Moses had two. All of us are called the brides of Yahusha. Are you seeing the same picture I'm seeing?
hmm That doesn't mean go and get 8 wives just for the sake of having 8 wives. Because
Yeah,
again, we go back to Corinthians. Not everything that is permitted is
yeah.
profitable.
And not for
Some
everybody, by the way.
some of you can't even have one healthy marriage, let alone. Let me also preface: I'm not a married man yet, and I don't have 30 years of marriage, but I know people who are, and I've heard these words from them. Some of you can't even have one successful. Some of you can't even have a successful relationship with yourself,
Yeah, you don't
let
love
alone
yourself.
with a woman, and let alone with more than one woman. You know what I mean?
I'm not promoting polygyny. I have only one wife, and to me, that's it. I don't even care if I have children or not. If they come, I mean, it's a plus. But Yahuwah gave me my reward, my first reward. He gave me my first gift after salvation. That was my wife. But we cannot be blind to the truth that plural marriage, the Torah marriage, a man and more than one woman, each each relationship having their own covenant. The women are not married to the other women. This is the truth of our reality. This is the truth of our scripture. And by the way, a lot of people don't remember, but Rahab, the Moabite prostitute, is in the genealogy of Messiah. And that doesn't seem to spark as much anger as the plural marriage. So I think you guys need to check yourselves at the door and see what your priorities are, because am I saying that is bad? Rahab is in Messiah genealogy. No, that goes to show that his forgiveness is for everybody and it is perfect. You just need to accept and walk by according to his guidelines, dance according to his music. But the point is not because you don't like what's written that automatically it becomes a lie. We need to walk according to what is written, and if it hurts, let's change to a certain extent that it doesn't hurt. I'm not promoting polygyny, I'm just saying it is the truth, because we are seeing here. 23. And Lamech had said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to my voice, you wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have slain a man to my own wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain then shall be avenged 7 times, truly Lamech 70 times 7. Does that ring a bell when Messiah said? When they asked him, how many times, Master, should I forgive my brother? 70 times 7. That's 490 times. And if you're counting, you have a serious problem of pride. This is just meaning forgive, man. Just forgive. It's easier. Just forgive. And Adam, 25, and Adam knew his Isha, his wife, again, and she bore a son and called his name Shet, or Seth. For Aloha, she said, has appointed me another seed instead of Hevel, whom Cain killed. And to Shet also there was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Then men began to call upon the name of Yahuwah. So until the seed, the lineage of Cain and Hevel were killed, people were not calling the name of Yahuwah. But then after Shet, then they started calling the name of Yahuwah. And that kind of answers that question, for me at least, that you pointed out. What happened to Adon? I guess he was not saved. I guess he bore a grudge with the Heavenly Father forever, because we see clearly that Shet started calling the name of Yahuwah. I believe even Shet were okay. But I
Seth.
believe
Seth. Maybe we use the word Seth.
I don't like Seth. I like the Hebrew one, because
Sheth.
Seth reminds me of Sech, the number 7 in Portuguese. I kind of okay,
Uh,
dude's name's 7. I don't like that part. But
eh,
anyway,
we forgive you. We're
uh,
practicing
thank,
forgiveness. We forgive.
thank you for the Jewish. forgiving prayer.
You're welcome.
So that's it for now, folks. We are going to continue with episode 2 in Matthew 1 through Matthew 4. But remember, share this with your people.
Yeah, man.
ShemaRadio.net. We shall be
Shema
there every
Radio.
Sunday. We don't
We're gonna
know.
post it every Tuesday now.
Yeah, no. We're gonna post. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. What did we
One
agree
of
on?
these days, when you see it posted, that's the
Yeah,
day we posted it, man. We're amateurs here, so have some
this is a
forgive
this
us, have some grace.
this is the mystery of the renewed covenant. When is the Yachty podcast gonna come? I don't know. Maybe. What if you tune in every day to ShemaRadio.net? Maybe you're going to find
Hmm.
a good hint.
Hey, man.
Hint.
We appreciate it if you listen, and I hope you
Yes,
got
sir.
something out of it. I know I did. It was fun. It was a good time. I always enjoy, doing some kind of study, reading with Yoshi. It's always a great time. I always get something out of it, and yeah, willing, you guys got something out of it. So, next episode we're gonna read Matthew 1 through 6, and see what we can connect to Genesis 1 through 4, and so on and so
Right.
forth. So stay tuned. Share this the Shema broadcast, like Yoshi said. Share with everybody you know. There's good stuff. Yoshi knows more. He works on it directly. There's music, teachings from Sholiak, Moshe. I think there's also teachings from Apostle Peter, right?
Yeah, I got mine.
Um,
Mine there too.
Yoshi's teachings. I mean, it's just good stuff there, man. And again, just to plug it in again, we're not sponsored. We are not being paid to promote this, so there's no bias here.
Yeah.
I was reading the RSTNE before we had a little show here that we call the Yachtycast.
Uh-huh.
So it's free online, man. There's no excuse. Go get something out of it. It's free. You don't even have
And
to buy it.
I
But
know, I know, I'm not supposed to be using this word, but stop bitching about it. Do your research. You're gonna see that the King James is all messed up. You're
yeah,
gonna see that the NIV is all messed up. You're gonna see that I don't. I just get the Hebrew original. You don't know the Hebrew original, man. The Pharisees thought they monkeyed with the language. They monkeyed with the alphabet, the alphabet. Oh, you have scholars that did that for you. Just accept it. Stop being a moron. Just get the RC. I'm not even saying you telling you to buy it. It's free. It
it's
is
free.
free. Yahusha said the word is free, but the service is not. But if you don't want to pay it, if you don't want to spend your hard earned $60, which I understand because y'all in America have the freedom money. I am in Brazil. I don't have that. But if you don't want to spend the $60, it is free. You don't have excuses not to get the best quality scriptures ever
Yeah,
produced.
man.
And I don't say this just because of the bias that I work with it also, but truly, when you get to do the research on the changes and why they happen there, you're gonna thank yourself in the long run. So go get your RSTNE, go to rstne.com, get your scriptures ready, and let's study with us.
Yeah. And then one last thing, yourarmsoflove to Israel.com. We have
Yes, sir.
Friday fellowship. Shabbat gets streamed every moed, every appointed time gets there's a stream, there's a service going on. Tune in, man. It's always well, man. Shaliak's on a heater. I mean, he's always got good messages, but he is like, lately there's just been really, really good word being shared, really good lessons being taught,
The
and you're
Ruach
missing out.
is working like it's crazy. We are learning
Yeah,
in 1 year what people didn't in 30.
yeah, and tune in, man. It's you'll never go wrong tuning into anointed, uh, anointed fellowship, anointed teaching. You're gonna get something out of it. I cannot recommend it. It's changed my life. I know it's changed Yoshi's life.
Yeah.
Yahuwah is working here, man, and it's great. It's great to see. It's great to witness. And so yeah, next episode, episode 2, Matthew 1 through 6. Tune in when the time comes. Um, until then, shalom, shalom. We're glad
Shalom,
you
y'all.
stopped by. We love you. We love you guys.
Love you. Bye bye. Shalom.
Peace.